Welcome back to the Classics World Chat Show, and for this episode, our quota of tall, glasses-wearing men who live in Kent and own a W123 and a 90s Fiat has doubled. We're joined by Matt from Furious Driving.
Hello.
So Matt, for those who might not know who you are or what you do, tell us about Furious Driving. How did it start? What is it? Where is it? And how furious are you?
I am extremely livid, I think, on the most things.
Just angry.
Angry in general at the world. Although not in cars. I'm a very calm driver indeed.
You came from a Rover 75.
I did come in a Rover 75 and then drove an even slower W123.
Yes, thank you.
Basically, I come from the background of car magazines. I actually worked for this publishing house for quite a number
still
of years.
do,
I still
yeah,
do. Hopefully, I won't seem to find out at the end of this. But I've been on the magazines for many, many, many years. And I thought, I can take this online. I can do this a different way and get paid for it that way. So basically, I started producing magazine content on the internet. So car reviews of classic cars, but then because I had no real remit, it's just anything I liked, and I kind of like everything. And then fixing my own cars and then gradually accumulating more and more terrible cars because I'm really good at buying them and really bad at selling them because I get really emotionally attached to them.
Guilty as charged.
And now I've just done a fleet roundup and it turns out I've got 20 cars, not including my wife's one.
For the benefit of the viewer, here it is scrolling along the screen. It's very long.
It's long. I own 6 Rovers. Someone commented in the video afterwards, you own 6 Rovers? And I went, no I don't. And then went, oh shit. I do.
So you're as badly afflicted as we are.
Oh, terribly, yeah. It's contagious and bad.
What I like about Furious Driving is that you don't purport to be a mechanic or
No.
a specialist. You're very much the DIY, here's a car that I bought for cheap
Yes.
and that I like, let's have a go.
Basically, yes. I trained as a photographer. I worked in the newspapers for a number of years and moved into magazines and actually carried on working in newspapers at the same time for quite a while. And so I know a lot about newspapers and photography. One of the best things about working on a classic car magazine is we used to do so many how-to guides with experts. And so we go to these really clever experts who are absolute niche at rebuilding fuel pumps or steering boxes or all these weird things. So I've got these little bits of knowledge all tucked away. And then I go back and go, well, if he showed me how to do it, I can have a go at that. How hard can it be?
And so you do.
Yeah, well, sometimes it works.
Sometimes it works.
Yeah.
What's your sort of taking your affections at the moment?
At the moment, I've just acquired a Mk1 Ford Focus.
Excellent.
Which is a car I sort of keep on saying for a long time, you need to buy a Ford Focus right now because they are the next big thing in the classics world. And then one of my viewers commented to me and said, I've got a car, it's a relative's car who's sadly passed away. The house is being sold next week and this car is still in the garage and we can't find the paperwork. So it's either going to get scrapped or would you like it? And so I said, yes, okay, and booked to Shipley and suddenly I've got a 35,000 mile or 34,000 mile Ford Focus on my drive.
Wow.
Fantastic.
Which is great.
What spec?
It's a gear.
Oh,
2003 gear, quick clear windscreen.
Oh.
Big deal is my W123, which I found on a photo shoot for Custom Car a few years ago. In back of this barn, covered in decades of dust, was a petrol blue metallic Mercedes W123 230e.
The best car. And that's run you ragged for a few years.
Yeah, that's been...
You still got the police car?
Yeah, the cop car, yeah.
Crown Vic, yeah.
Crown Vic, yeah, still got that. I actually won a competition, the Guild of Southern Group Motoring Writers. We had a group day down at Bewley the other day and it won journalists' favourite.
Oh, brilliant.
Wow.
Which is a real high point of the day, because on the way back the brake caliper locked on.
Always something to do.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was an arresting sight by the side of the road.
Hey. One thing I've noticed is watching your videos is that there's a lot focused on the 1990s. There's various Rovers from the 90s. There's the Alpha, the Focus is technically a 90s car.
Yes. Yeah.
Which brings us on to today's theme. Because I'm going to shock you a bit, gentlemen. I was born in 1998. And that means, that's giving Matt a heart attack. The year 1990 was 35 years ago.
Me and Phil thinking, I've got socks older.
Yeah, there you go, exactly. So have I. But the point being that a 90s car is not modern anymore.
No.
A 90s car is a classic in its own right. So what we thought we'd do is run in some of our favourite 90s cars for all budgets, not necessarily as an investment, but ones that they're never going to be cheaper than they are now. Yeah. That you need to buy them at the money they're at, or they're going to be 2 or 3 times that in the not too distant future, and then you'll wish you had. Being that it's your specialist subject,
Okay.
Mr. Richardson,
Hello.
what is your first 90s car that you would advise people buy for, let's say, 4 figures, less than 10,000.
So I'll start in that case with my most expensive car on my list, which is, you'll not exactly struggle to find one at £10,000, but you'll be finding a good usable one rather than an immaculate one. Because I've always had a bit of a thing for the R129 Mercedes SL.
Good choice.
Which is a wonderful car. And a while ago, I was watching some back issues of Classics World TV, and you, Phil, and Sam were going around finding what's peak Mercedes. And Sam said it would be the R129. Couldn't accept it because it wasn't based on a four-door version, but it is.
It is.
It's a 124.
Cut down 124.
Cut down 124, didn't he? Yes.
Yeah. In the 1990s, bear in mind, I turned 17 in 1992. So the 90s...
I was 6 years off being born.
Yeah, exactly. That was when I was learning to drive, and I had sort of cheap cars and sort of went to college and saw all the cheap rubbish in the car park. The 129, that was a halo car, that was a movie star car. And you'd see these things around now and then. Not often, because they were expensive cars. You didn't see them around much. But it was a real, wow, that's an aspirational thing.
There was a little known owner known as Princess Diana as well.
I've heard of her, yes.
And famously have the first royal to not own a British car, and it was an R129 to do so.
What's interesting about the 129 is that I think it's gaining in popularity and credibility, largely because of the fact that R107 prices have gone up.
Yeah,
but
they're silly
also
money now.
the R230 or whatever it is that follows isn't as well regarded as the R1. So suddenly the R129's popularity is starting to peak. So I think it's a top choice.
Absolutely. And also in the 1990s, when Mercedes overall quality went to that real kind of doldrums period, it was still a quality Mercedes. It was
built like a tank.
Yeah, and you could get the V12, but that's a lovely thing.
The pedants will point out they came out in 89.
They did.
It's a 90s car as far as we're concerned.
It ran the entire decade. It didn't get cancelled till the noughties, so you could even argue it's a noughties car.
Mr. Whedon, how would you combat that?
Well, obviously a Jaguar has to appear on the list. That is the law. That is the law. Could you argue a case an XJS is a 90s car? I mean, it was out for 6 years in
the XJ
90s.
non-S, the facelifted one.
Exactly. The Jaguar S-Type technically came out in the 90s.
It did, yes.
Yeah.
But actually I wouldn't choose either of those.
No.
So I have to go for the X100 XK8 as my 90s.
And no one will blame you.
Yeah.
Came out in 96, it's halfway through the decade. But all its underpinnings are sort of abandoned DB7, sort of XJS mechanicals and all that sort of thing. But I love the styling of an XK8.
Looks gorgeous.
I think it's unashamedly retro, but it does it in a clever way. It was designed on a budget of buttons, basically. You know, they just scrapped together what they could, launched a really credible sporting Grand Tourer. And I think, like a lot of Jaguars, and I classify the XJ40 in this bracket, it was a car that actually steadily got better with age. They're fantastic cars. They really are brilliant.
Properly
you know,
special.
4.2, 6-speed. You can technically get them still for 3-4 grand.
Yeah.
I worry about the rot on
They can rot,
on cheaper ones. I'll sort of start with price low to high and start sort of scrolling through the 4 to 5 grand ones, and typically someone's bolted a leaper on the front, or they've put some garish wheels on it, or they've put a kind of number plate plinth to reveal the more oval grille and stuff. These are all personal choices and you're welcome to them, but they are wrong. And then slowly but surely you get to the sort of the ones that I would prefer, and then you're starting to tick 15, 20 and even north of 20. If you're willing to take on a project, then 4 to 5 grand buys you one. But
you will need to spend another 4 to 5 grand on a second one to pillage
to break for bits.
For those of us who will remember a trading up challenge that we did, we had similar afflictions with an X100, which looked beautiful from the outside, but actually did have
no flaw,
a fair
or sills,
several flaws,
or subframe,
several flaws just not joined together.
It had some FLAWS, that's for sure.
For sure.
But great choice. I love those. So we've got a Mercedes Sporting GT, we've got a Jaguar Sporting GT. I've got the perfect third car for this gentleman, the Fiat Cinquecento.
Of course.
Naturally, the third car in this.
What's the speed, quality and refinement more than a...
Well, you are stuck in between, so you are an in-betweener.
Everyone, yes, very good. Well done. Everyone's in the comments already. I have to disclose a personal interest. My first car was a Seicento, the sort of facelift successor, which I still own and always will. It's on the channel. And I just love them. They're brilliant. They're proper Fiat city car through and through. They're tiny, they're simple, they're minimalist, but they're huge fun. Even the fastest one is 0 to 60 in like 14 seconds and 54 horsepower. But, and this is something I always point out to Jeff, so is a Mini.
Yeah.
And a Mini will cost you a damn sight more than a Cinquecento.
I was going to say, does it do a better job of being a Mini than a Mini?
I think so, by that point, because the sort of Mini you'd get for £1,500, you'd be picking up with a dustpan and brush. Whereas a Cinquecento, apart from the rear arches, they don't really rot, because they were the first Fiat to be galvanised, so they don't rust.
Why haven't they lasted as well?
I think it's because there's less of a specialist following for them. The amount of people that they're not as cared about. There's not as many people like me that want them. But you have to look historically at Fiat values. Look at what a classic 500 is now worth. Look at what a 126 is now worth. Look at what Pandas are starting to be worth. The Cinquecento is the next one. And there are very few of them left, particularly if you're not looking at Sportings. A good Sporting can run you £3,000 or £4,000.
I love the alloy wheels on the
They're
Sporting.
great, aren't they?
The red seat belts. It is the thinking man's Rover Mini. because you could buy 2 or 3 of them for the cost of a Mini and have a car that doesn't rust, and it's that much more modern fundamentally. So you've got a bit more crash protection, you've got electric windows, you've got fuel injection. Well, are you going to pick me up on crash safety there?
It's like marginally more crash protection.
This much.
It will crumple just as much, but there's an airbag to catch you on the
Yes.
way.
I think, to be fair, the crash safety is good if you don't crash.
Well, that's very true.
Just don't crash.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Choice number 2, sir.
Choice number 2. Okay, this I'm avoiding my obvious ones because I was going to say Mark 1 Ford Focus as an obvious thing because they're so good.
But you've got a vested interest now.
Very vested interest. I was going to say Mark 1 SLK because that's the tail end of the 90s. And the Mark 1 SLKs I really didn't like for a long time. Now I've bought one. I think they're really, really good.
Yeah.
Again, vested interest. So I'm going to go back to what the car I was trying to buy in the 1990s was, but never managed to, partly from price, partly because I couldn't find one. Peugeot 306.
Ooh.
Little Pininfarina, hot hatch, pure 90s style, pure Peugeot or Citroen Peugeot handling. It looks good, it drives well. I spent most of the mid-90s trying to find a 3-door XSI in my budget.
So rare.
And never found one. Even in the 90s when they were current, I couldn't find one used and affordable. I always focused on the XSI and I dreamt of the GTI 6 with the 2 litre and the 6-speed. But
I saw a GTI 6 at a car show recently and it just looked fabulous.
They're brilliant.
So good, aren't they? There's just so many options. There's literally something for everyone. There's the poverty spec French farmer models, which you can buy for literally nothing, right up to the luxury and the sporting
And
ones.
the GTIs, yeah.
And the
exactly.
GTIs and the diesels, which back in the 90s, only the French really did diesels
The
really
prettiest
well.
Peugeot of the 90s?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
That was the point when the French, even just your ordinary humble car was fundamentally good.
Absolutely, yeah. And you could get it, let's say, from basic with wind-up windows and nothing up to fully loaded. But they all
Interior was
handled
really
so
nice on those. Well, I loved the little
felt
swervy
great,
face here.
They did. Interesting. The days of interesting cars from France that drove well. Even the most basic one had incredible handling.
Yeah,
So
they just had something special about them. And what I love is that that's what you got from Peugeot, or you could walk down to a Ford dealer and buy a Mark V Escort.
exactly. That was the other point I was going to make. Is it was so much better until the Focus came out and just kind of wiped the floor with everything. Yeah, the Peugeot was the one to have for handling, for comfort, for
good choice.
even for build quality.
Actually.
But there's just none left.
Go on, Mr. Whedon. Choice number 2.
Right, well, on similar lines, actually, you've talked about the Focus and a very compelling choice that is. So I went with Mark 1 Mondeo.
Oh, of course.
We had
Brilliant
one
car.
for a brief while and it was only a GLX
Automatic,
1.8 auto, like proper minicab, but that car was a joy to
Oh,
drive.
that's so good, aren't they?
I'd love to know if any North American viewers have got any views about the Mondeo,
Contour.
that appeared over there. But over here, I think it was really well revered. It's just unfortunate it comes out in the early 90s, by which time people can lease BMW 3 Series for 10 quid a month more. But the Mondeo is just such a fabulous car, almost regardless of spec. You could go for a fairly humdrum LX or GLX. I don't think you'd go wrong. You know, we've got a ST24
Our Mark II,
project car, Mark II, that's probably still in need of some welding.
It's a Ford after all.
It's more like an ST12 at the moment, probably. But they're good.
They're brilliant. No, I'll doff my cap to you on that one.
So Richard Parry Jones, the guy who did the suspension on them, he's like my motoring hero. He would turn anything. And his
Absolutely.
great phrase to young engineers: drive a car like 100 metres at 10 miles an hour, and you'll know if it's a good car or not. You don't need to throw it through a corner.
that's actually
a little bit of sad trivia here. I actually had the VHS launch video for the Ford Mondeo.
Wow.
Presented by Jackie Stewart.
Wow.
Really? That's worth a lot of money now. You
is,
stick
yeah.
that
I have no idea where it is.
You could probably
but,
swap that for a Mark 1 Mondeo.
Yeah,
these
exactly.
days.
I rescued one about 2 years ago.
Oh, I remember
the
that.
Moldeo, we called it, because it was just so crusty where it had been sat in the garden. But it drove so well.
They're still great, and they're not as abundant as they used to be.
Sadly,
Yeah.
I think a lot of banger racers have seen because actually that's the other thing. For a while, they were a banger racer favourite because they're so tough. So we're on to our humble round, gentlemen. 306. Mondeo, very humble, very modest. So I've gone equally modest. W140 S-Class.
So your triple glazed modesty.
Yes, indeed. To bounce off of your 129, that was for me the last proper Mercedes. Built for, it was over $1 billion to develop the
it was
thing.
insane, wasn't it?
To no compromise. Because what happened is in the late 80s, the Germans got a bit complacent. Not complacent then, but they were quite comfortable where they were, BMW and Mercedes. And then Lexus came along and suddenly realised, hang on a minute, we better step our game up here. So that's exactly what the 140 was. And it was kind of a swan song for that peak Mercedes quality era. So it's built like nothing else, and it's got more firsts on it than you care to mention. And like you say, triple glazing.
Yeah.
It's got the soft closed doors. It's got air suspension that goes up and down. It's got the little pillars that come up to stop you backing into things. You could have it as a long wheelbase V12, which is about as premium as it comes.
Yeah.
Just phenomenal car.
Isn't it also the time, I think, when the Mercedes S-Class becomes the true kind of global statesman's car? $1 billion budget, no compromise engineering,
And it showed.
superb.
It really did. What I liked is that was the era of luxury cars, well, particularly for Mercedes, where and again with the 129, where it was almost a classless luxury car. So whether you're a rapper or royalty, you would look good in one of those. Yeah, that is a proper Mercedes, and the fact you can get one of those for less than $5,000 still, albeit it will be a 280, so you will be overtaken by wildlife. But what a car!
I found a ratty on a marketplace for under 1,000.
No.
I was going to buy it, but I just couldn't find anywhere to put it because it was so big.
Yeah, well, I think that's the other thing. Exactly, it'd be the size of your crown big, wouldn't it?
Yeah, basically it is. Yeah.
Bunch of brave pills for that one.
But no, so I think we need one of those in the in the future.
Lovely,
Excellent.
good choice.
Oh, that's a good car.
So, Mr. Richardson, sign off then for us. What's your swan song?
Okay, well, this is rather predictably, as someone who owns 6 Rovers, I'm going to go with Rover. The big, who knew? The big Rover of the 1990s was the R8. Technically, it came out in 1989, so you could argue it's an 80s car, but it was a massive, massive step up from everything Rover had done in a while. There'd been a bit of a lull in the 80s when Rover weren't doing too great.
It's the most Rover of the Rover-Honda collaboration.
Yes, it really is. But that's not where I'm going with this.
Oh, excellent.
No. Having that built up, this is actually a MacGuffin. Here we go in with the R3, the bubble Rover, which
gets forgotten.
Yes, I totally forgotten.
Such a lovely little car.
Such a pretty little car. Yeah. And the thing was, Rover were, as I say, I got my licence in 1992. When I was about your age, pretty much, I bought an R3, 216 SI in Nightfire Red.
Nice.
And I put it on alloy wheels I got from Motor World down
Halfords or whatever.
Yeah, equivalent. And I built a subwoofer in the boot of it as well. Alpine head unit in too. Alpine head unit.
Oh, that's class.
But no, it was a really pretty car, and I think the design really stands up. A bit like the Peugeot. Yeah. It's like a lovely kind of curvy.
Is it mostly R8 underneath?
The front 3/4
predominantly
is R8. Shorten the front of it a bit to fit the packaging.
Yeah.
And then to get enough boot space in the back, they had to rework the Maestro torsion beamer axle.
Right.
So it's a mashup of R8 and Maestro underneath.
What's quite interesting with those, I think the right spec on those, and they look proper. I mean, again, vested interest. You have a 200 VI.
Yes,
it's worth noting.
Yes.
But that looks great.
Oh,
You've got
amazing,
the big wheels on it and the little spoiler.
Yeah.
The BRM divides opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I kind of prefer the VI because it's basically a BRM without the limited slip diff and the orange bits.
Yes, I like those.
I do.
I
like
can appreciate
well.
why one wouldn't.
The engineers, a bit like the Jaguar guys, they had so little to work with.
Yeah.
They were basically scratching down the back of the car seat, seeing if they could find 50p to keep the lights on.
And then, of course, it spawns the ZR, the MG ZR.
Yeah. ZR's a great car,
a naughty's car. But
the ZR is actually a 200 VI with a body kit. Really good car. I mean, I just said in my Fleet Roundup video the other day, of all the cars that are more powerful, more extravagant, more valuable, the 200 VI I think is my favourite because it's such a comfortable car to be in. It drives really soft, like the W123. It's got a soft, pliant ride that you can just cruise around to the shops in and just coast over bumps. But if you want to hurl it through a country lane, it's also taut enough and it'll go really aggressively through a twisty road. And the engine sounds nice. And it's a 1.8 VVC.
It's got decent power and everything else.
It's 135 horsepower, 150 horsepower, I think.
You can't argue with that.
It does everything well. And you can fit loads of luggage in the back and you can fit 4 or 5 people in there.
But it's small enough so it fits in your driveway.
It's perfect. It does everything well.
It's brilliant. And what I think, if you wanted to demonstrate why we as enthusiasts are now gearing towards 90s cars, you could explain it there because it's old enough to be cool and interesting, different, and still small and not covered in touch screens and rubbish.
Yeah.
But it's new enough that you've got decent safety, you've got decent comfort. It doesn't rattle and squeak and blow around in the wind. You don't have to make excuses for it. You don't have to give someone the keys and go, "Oh, just so you know."
Yeah.
It's modern enough.
It's a car.
It's still a car.
It's got central locking and it's
I'm going to go and look them up later. So my swan song choice, easy to say, is for me peak BMW, and that's the E39 5 Series.
Yes, I'd love one of those.
We had a couple of project car derivatives, but in terms of an all-round competent car, the E39 5 Series is about where it's at. And we had a 523 project car, really early one on an R-Reg, what's that, 97, something like that. But it was such a lovely car to drive. It felt really weighty in a good way.
Yeah.
The 6-cylinder engine was just glorious.
Proper.
You could sort of sit there and sort of just bowl down a boulevard or a motorway or a B road or anything. It would do all of those things. That brilliant BMW engineered ride and handling combo. Not too wafty, but not crashy, and I think as a daily car you could just use and appreciate every day.
But it's old enough to be interesting.
But old enough to be interesting. I just don't think you can go wrong.
I don't disagree with that. They've got that real
choice.
They've got their real kind of peak car quality about them.
When we had our E39, Mr. Wager, in fact, went on a BMW press event. It was an N Sport press event, and he turned up in the E39, and the press, the director of communications at the time went, proper BMW.
Doesn't that speak volumes?
Yeah, I would say that was the greatest BMW possibly ever.
I'd agree with that.
So go on in, top that.
Well, again, I've gone for another saloon, and if you think of the E39, this kind of refined, gentlemanly, grown-up car, shall we say?
yeah.
I've gone for something loud, yobbish, and rattly.
That's not like you.
Yes, exactly. I don't like cars like that. The Subaru Impreza Turbo, gentlemen.
Oh, yes.
What an icon of the 90s.
Absolutely, yeah.
I don't think there was a single council estate or car park in the 90s that didn't echo to whoosh coming out the front of the Subaru Impreza.
We're sitting here in 2025, which is 30 years of the win, isn't it?
That tells you all we need to know. It is an icon. I think it was an icon in its own lifetime,
Yeah.
really.
I was in the back seat of my parents' car, and one overtook us on the motorway, and I heard it coming.
Yeah.
And I looked over my shoulder and just saw the big fog lights on.
Yeah.
And it's going, and
That's cool.
I don't know what it is, but I want one.
Yeah, we have one. We have one as a project car, and actually they're probably better than you think they are, because everything about them just feels right, and there's so fling it into a corner when you're on it, and the way it carries itself through it and goes down the road is just unbelievable.
yeah.
They're not as common as they once were.
No.
Lord knows they're not as cheap as they once were. They are a £9,000-10,000 car now, and a lot of them are rusty, and a lot of them are badly modified, and yes, they've been broken and track day, blah, 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 but find a good one and treat it right, which is to say service it and then kick its head in. And I don't think there's many better cars.
Think about a sporting Ford of a similar
Yeah,
in the
Cosworth
previous
or something,
days. Actually, an Impreza seems quite good value.
Oh god, yeah, massively.
And a better car.
Yeah. That's a good point actually. Compare it to an Escort Cosworth or an Integrale or a Celica GT4, and suddenly the Subaru looks like quite good value.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Sensible motoring.
that's our Classics World, a channel that cares with sensible buying advice. Those are our choices for 90s classics that we would buy, and not necessarily investments, but just as fun cars from what many would argue is the peak era of cars.
Absolutely.
But why don't you let us know, what would you choose of our choices, and for your own choice, maybe you own a 90s car for all budgets, let's say under 10 grand, keep it reasonable as an investment or a fun car, whatever. If you love 90s cars, for a start, follow this man, because he owns pretty much all of them.
It would appear that way. I've got some 60s and 70s cars and 80s cars as well, but yes, mostly
90s cars.
So,
Matt, thank you for joining us
Thank
today.
you.
Do go and check out Furious Driving. He drives furiously, except when he's in a Rover 75.
Or a W123.
Or a W123. There's a road test on my car coming soon on his channel, and you've reviewed our Mach 3 Cortina.
I did,
and
yes.
There's all sorts. We overlap quite a lot. We're all in Kent. So we're all a big happy family here. In the meantime, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Classics World for all our future content. There are plenty of 90s car episodes and things on the channel. Anything to add, sir?
No, I think you've said enough.
Excellent. The amount of times I've been told that. Thanks for watching. See you again soon. Sarah.
See you soon.
Excellent. Cool. Nicely done,
Longest
gentlemen.
wrap up in history.
That did take a long time, didn't it?